There's a certain take going around surrounding the whole Andrew Tate situation that I was totally going to ignore the first few times that I heard it. My initial response to it was that it was just such an obviously terminally online take. Like, it's just one of those instances of somebody trying to be so progressive that they're actually coming all the way around and being just kind of ridiculous. But I've noticed that the take is starting to gain steam in certain communities and that it's actually being legitimately debated amongst people, so I thought I'd throw my 2 cents in. And the take is essentially that when Greta Thunberg said that Andrew Tate has small dick energy, she was engaging in body shaming, and that she should not have done that, because even if Andrew Tate is an awful person, we shouldn't take him down by body shaming him. The first big problem that I have with this take is that it has people defending one of the worst people in the world, Andrew Tate, from something true that one of the most admirable people in the world, Greta Thunberg, said about him. And I just don't think that we need to be wasting too much energy defending people like Andrew Tate. But the real question with the take is whether or not what Greta said amounts to body shaming. And that's my second big problem with it, is I don't think it does at all. If Greta had said something like, "Shut up, Andrew Tate, I saw your dick the other day and it looked like an acorn on top of a flesh-colored hacky sack," then maybe that would have been body shaming. But that's not what she said. She said that he has small dick energy. She's not commenting on an aspect of his body. She's commenting specifically on the energy that he puts out into the world. And it's an energy that a lot of the people who follow him and who buy classes from him and who support him also have. It's an energy that's characterized by a certain set of attitudes and behaviors. There is a certain kind of man in the world who believes that his value and his worth and his legitimacy as a real man is tied to things like the size of his dick, or the amount that he can lift at the gym, or the amount of money that he makes, or the amount of Bugattis in his garage, or the amount of cigars that he is able to consume on a given day without throwing up. This kind of man has bought into so many toxic stereotypes of what it means to be a real man. And they're typically massively insecure people. In almost all situations, they lead with an immense amount of fear. It's a fear based on feeling like at any moment they could say or do something that might make them look less manly. It's a fear of appearing in any way small or weak or feminine, because they associate femininity with weakness and they associate masculinity with strength. And they regularly make this fear that they constantly live with the problem of everyone else in the world by just behaving in the worst ways. Telling someone that they have small dick energy is in no way making a comment on your evaluation of their body. It's a commentary on your evaluation of the type of person that they appear to be. The type of person who genuinely believes that a smaller than average penis is one of the worst things that a person can have, and who acts like a monster to everyone around them because they are terrified that someone might find out that they have a smaller than average penis. Greta Thunberg has no idea whether Andrew Tate has a big or small penis, and she doesn't care. I don't care. No reasonable person cares. The point is that Andrew Tate is so pathetic that he cares. He cares just so much. And that's why it's such a fantastically sick burn. So thanks, Greta. Okay, so the comment section from this video got wild so fast. First of all, I think it's really important to acknowledge that trans people are not a monolith. 1 or 2 trans people saying something is not equivalent to the trans community saying something. There were several trans and non-binary people who commented on my video, and most of them agreed with me. And all of the people who said that I wasn't listening were totally fine with roundly ignoring all of those people. But that being said, a lot of people were saying some variation of this, that like I wasn't listening to the trans people who were hurt by Greta Thunberg's comments about Andrew Tate. And I'd like to talk about this because this is a thing that we hear a lot as progressive leftist folks. The concept that when a marginalized subset of our community speaks up about something, we should listen to them. And of course, I agree with this. Listening is a fantastic tool that we should all practice. But I think sometimes we have a tendency to misunderstand what true listening entails. I think sometimes we tend to conduct ourselves in these conversations as though in order to properly listen, you need to acquiesce to and agree with whatever the person you are listening to is saying. And I think it is so important to understand that it is completely possible to listen to and hear and fully comprehend and even have empathy for a person's position and to still not fully agree with aspects of that position. And even if we get past whether or not we agree on the logical basis of a person's position, there are still emotions and feelings at play. And a lot of people in that comment section said things like, well, don't people's feelings matter? If even one person had their feelings hurt unnecessarily by Greta's comments, doesn't that matter? And again, yeah, I agree. Feelings do matter, and the real emotional experience that a person goes through matters. But I also think that it's important to understand that it is completely possible to have a fully realized emotional experience that is based potentially on a misinterpretation of certain data. For instance, I could overhear two friends talking about someone, and they're talking about how this person has a really obnoxious voice and a really ugly mustache and a bad haircut, and I could think that they're talking about me and really have a genuine, real emotional experience about that. And then I could find out that they were actually talking about a character from a TV show that they don't like. And I think in that scenario, even though I had had a very real emotional experience, it would be unreasonable for me to say, well, you guys still owe me an apology because I still had the feelings and my feelings matter. Because it's really not about whether my feelings matter or not. My feelings do matter and my feelings are real, but my feelings in that instance were based on a simple misunderstanding, a miscommunication. I am listening to the complaints and the concerns being raised by certain people when it comes to what Greta said. And I believe I'm comprehending those complaints. I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, that in general, the problem that people have is that they feel that Greta is reinforcing the toxic idea that having a big or small dick correlates to whether a person is good or bad. And it is my contention that what is actually happening is the exact opposite. I think that to interpret her words that way is to fundamentally misunderstand them. These people are saying, I wish we lived in a world where we didn't base a person's worth off of something as arbitrary as the size of their genitals. And I'm simply saying, Greta Thunberg agrees with you, and so do I. Greta Thunberg in no way thinks that a person's worth is tied to the arbitrary size of their genitals. But she understands that Andrew Tate and people like Andrew Tate do hold the toxic belief that their worth is tied to that. And she is weaponizing that toxic belief against them. And lastly, I just want to say that I think it's a bummer that we have this amazing storyline where this over-the-top comic book villain sex criminal is undone because a 19-year-old climate activist hurls an insult at him on the internet and his fragile ego is unable to take it. And we don't get to enjoy it because we're too busy arguing amongst ourselves over whether the insult that she used, an insult that was specifically designed to call out a problematic set of behaviors and beliefs and attitudes exhibited and held by almost exclusively cisgender men, is actually an insult aimed at trans men and the trans community in general. Anyway, thanks for the comments, thanks for the discussion. I will continue listening.